Hello everyone, welcome to Amrita IAS Academy. So our exams are getting nearer, so we have almost 20 days for this year's prelims exams, which is scheduled on October 4th. So I just want to bring to your attention certain important things that you should be doing on the day of the exam. So it's not about overall how you have to present yourself on the day of the exam, but this is just about how many questions you have to attempt to give a solid attempt this year. So I want to give or bring to your attention some of the considerations that you should keep in mind while you're deciding on that. So normally these days people say you have to attempt more than 90. Some says you have to attempt only when you are that sure. You shouldn't be increasing your number of negative questions. So is there a magic number that you can arrive at somehow? Maybe is 75 good enough? Is 85 the right number you have to do? And adding to the mix the requirement of clearing forest prelims, that makes it all the more complicated. So there are a lot of things to consider in that regard. So I'm just trying to give some more clarity in that aspect. So and I would also try to address what should be the number of attempts you should be aiming at if the exam goes to the tougher side, just like the exam in 2018 or somewhat like in 2019. 2018 was a much tougher exam compared to 2019. And the reason why I call 2018 tougher is because the choices in the questions were kept really tight in comparison with other years. So these are some of the questions that we'll try to answer today. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give different scenario projections of the number of attempts. So on one side you have the number of questions that you would be attempting, and I have generated some of the different possibilities of mistakes that people do over the time. This is from my interaction with my students and also from my own experience over the past 10 years. Then we would just generate the kind of marks you can expect from that. So this is just a random scenario projection, but I will give you certain numbers. I can show you certain numbers which would be appealing depending on the number of questions you generally attempt in all the mock tests you are doing. So I want you to keep that in mind. So whenever you are looking through these numbers, see which is the zone whether you fall in. Like, are you someone who attempts more than 75 questions? Are you someone who attempts more than 85 questions? Are you someone who regularly makes somewhere around 16 to 18 wrong answers in every attempt you make? So these are the things which you know better. So I will show you different scenarios. Okay, and based on this, as I am going through these different projections, I will try to bring to your attention some of the safe zones that you can be. Okay. So first of all, we know that 2018 and 2019 was relatively tougher, and that is evident from the very low cutoff. We have seen it was 98 for general category, and for OBC, SC, EWS, it all came very close at 95, 96, 90 and all. It went like that, but 98 was the general cutoff. So that is one number we will be looking at. So that was, like I said earlier, it was a tougher year. Okay, but if you look at 2016, the cutoff went higher because the exam was kind of easy, and the main reason why 2016 was an easier exam was not in the exam being about easy questions, but the choices that was kept in each question was kind of more slacker. You could have arrived at the right answer through a rigorous process of elimination, even if you haven't learned that topic itself beforehand. So that was the kind of advantage you had in 2016 and slightly in 2017, but in 2018 that kind of a scenario didn't come up or pan out. So we will just see different scenario projections. So first thing is, if you're someone who attempts 60 questions in your exam, and when it comes to UPSC, howsoever sure you are about a particular answer, you can still get around 6 to 8 answers wrong. No matter how accurate you think you are, you can still, there could still be some questions that can go wrong. It could be due to difference in the sources you both refer. That I mean, we and UPSC refer might be referring different sources. So all that chance freak events could happen. So we could be looking at some source and UPSC key is from another source, and they have key and they have the final word. So you end up getting it wrong. So all those things have happened. So I'm taking the minimum number of mistakes someone would be making. I am taking as 8 or 10. Okay, so there are very less chances of anyone doing a UPSC exam without making 8 or 10 mistakes in there. So I'm looking at mistakes only above 8 or 10. So if you make 60 questions, if you attempt 60 questions and you think you are pretty accurate, so you'll be getting 8 or 10 mistakes. Or on a bit worse, if you're getting 12 questions wrong, that means you get only 48 questions correct, which means your mark would be somewhere around 88. So attempting 60 question, you're out of the game. Okay, try and make it to 65, and we just increase the number of mistakes by 14, then you're going to get only 92 marks. Okay, so 65, attempting somewhere around 65 questions, no matter how accurate you are, or no matter you think you are thoroughly accurate, things could go wrong for you, things could go work in a bad manner for you. So I would always advise you to attempt beyond 65, more than 65. See, just see the number 70. You are someone who are really accurate, don't make any negative attempts. If you're that kind of a person, check out this 70 number. So if you're attending somewhere around 70 questions, and if you're assuming it somewhere around 15 goes wrong, you still get 100 marks. So if it's a tougher exam like 2018 and 2019, you still get a chance to clear, but it's still on the border. Okay, so see, are you getting a sense of what I am trying here? So I am just giving you these kind of scenarios that you yourself would have faced while doing all the mock tests in the past 3 or 4 or 6 months. So you would have seen the number of questions you regularly do, the number of mistakes you do, and you can see where you are reaching. So based on that, you have to have a winning combination of number of attempts and number of wrongs. Okay, so that should be the ultimate objective of this thing, what I am doing here. Okay, leave 70. Let us talk about 75. Okay, so if you're someone who have put in 1 year of hard work, done all the test series you could take, maybe did somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 questions as mock questions have been practiced, you have a fairly good elimination technique, you have a rigorous capacity in elimination, you end up doing 75 and you have really high accuracy and you get only 12 questions wrong. So you end up getting 118 marks, 118 marks. Okay, that's pretty cautious, right? So you are on the safer side. No matter if it's an easy exam or it's a tougher exam, you are on the safer side. So 75 question, attempting 75 question and getting 12 and minimizing your errors to 12 is a pretty great strategy to have. So see, think for yourself, are you someone who can play in that zone, maybe doing somewhere around 75 and keeping the mistakes to the minimum, to the absolute minimum. So this 12 might seem really high, but let me tell you friends, 12 is going to be there. It's very difficult to avoid 10 to 12 mistakes in an actual UPSC exam. I haven't seen anyone who have reduced or kept their mistakes, or maybe 1 or 2 maybe, but they are not the people we are talking about. We are talking about the majority of the people who write the exam, and a good majority of them who clears this exam don't limit their mistakes below 12. It's kind of difficult to do that. So we saw different scenarios. Let's see 3-4 scenarios for 75. So if you're doing 75 and if your mistakes are somewhere around 16, you end up getting 107 marks. It's good on a tougher exam, but it's not that great. It could be borderline on a average exam like the 2017. 2017, you might clear, but you're still on the border. So if you're doing 75, 18 getting wrong, then it's 102. You will pass only in a tougher area. See, so you are doing somewhere around 75 questions and you have an upper limit of mistakes at around 18. you will end up scoring 102. So I guess last year would have been 1 year. There would be many people who would have figured out this kind of a combination, doing somewhere around 75, getting 16 to 18 wrong, and just getting over the cutoff, just clearing the prelims exam. But just clearing is always fine when it comes to prelims, right? You don't have to bother about that. So this is one zone that I want to impress upon you. So if you are someone who finds it very difficult to increase the number of attempts, but someone who has a good control over the number of errors they make, someone who is really accurate in the guesses they take, who are not that risk takers, right? So these people have a strategy somewhere around here. Do somewhere around 75. 60 is not an option, 65 is not an option. Do somewhere around 75. Keep your mistakes to 10 to 12. You have a solid shot of 118. So you can work out a strategy around these combinations. That is pretty solid there. Let us move to the next set. So here I am avoiding all the small 76, 78, all those numbers. I'm just looking at the absolute round of numbers, because that is easy for people to relate, right? If I say 77, 79, people might find it difficult to relate to that number. But if you know 75, 80, it's kind of a landmark numbers, right? It's easy for you to connect to those numbers. That's why I have taken only those numbers. So let us see about 80 questions. Okay, so you are someone who takes it up to 80. Okay, and you have done a pretty good attempt at your preparation. You kept your mistakes to the minimum, somewhere around 16 only, and you get 117 marks, right? That's a good deal. You clear the exam. You don't have to worry about anything. You clear the exam. And maybe if it's something like last year, you clear your forest prelims also. Okay. So it's again a great zone to have. Attempting somewhere around 80, taking your attempts to somewhere around 80. So the natural UPSC number of mistakes, 12 to 14 to 16, that thing happens. You are very much on the safer zone. So if you take it to 80 and unfortunately, if your mistake starts increasing, then you will start seeing diminishing returns. If your mistakes are somewhere around 20, you're going to get only 106 marks. So you're doing 80 questions, but you get only 106 mark. But on the other hand, you would have been good with 75 questions and almost 12 mistakes with a very tight handle on the accuracy aspect. You would be getting 118, but you try to increase your attempts, take it to 20, and the next 8 questions from 12 to additional 8 questions, maybe, additional 5 questions you went wrong. It's kind of going to backfire. So you have to know your comfort zone, and partly it is about your comfort zone, and partly that comfort zone depends on the exam you are facing. So it works in that two ways. One thing, you can preset yourself for a particular number based on the kind of questions you attempt regularly, and you can plan that and go to the exam hall. But in the exam hall, as you see the question paper, maybe you can always fall back, or you can always apply that preset number you have, but sometimes that question paper could be very tough or very easy. Depending on that, you have to change your strategy. You have to flip your game depending on the kind of question paper you have. So you have 2 factors to consider while arriving at this number of questions you have to attempt. Okay, so I'll explain that in a bit detail. So we are talking about 80 zone now. So you are doing 80 questions, but you end up getting 24 wrong. Then you end up only with 96 marks. So let me tell you who are these people who do up till 80 questions and get 24 wrong. Okay, so this is just a model representative person. Okay, so I think there could be many among you who are like this. So these are people who are comfortable only with 50 to 60 questions, and but with 50 or 60 questions they can't clear, so they try to increase their number of attempts. They know that they have to increase the number of attempts. They try to do it. Maybe they could take till 72 or 75 in a 75 is manageable for them, or 70 or 72, 73 is manageable for them, but they still try to take it forward. Okay, they try to increase their number of attempts, and just for the sake of increasing the number of attempts, they increase and they end up with more negatives. Okay, so these are the set of people who would be so influenced by the teachers and mentors. The mentors would say, okay, you have to increase the number of attempts. There is no way you're going to clear prelims with 70 or 75 attempts. You have to take it till 90. So these are the people who blindly follow that. Okay, so I think you have to be a bit skeptical. You have to take all these advices with a pinch of salt. You have to figure out what works best for you. So like I said earlier, 75-12 can be a winning composition for you if you're someone who take less risk but who is deeply accurate in their guesses. But those people, if they try to unnecessarily increase their number of attempts, go beyond, so much beyond their comfort zone just for the sake of increasing the number of attempts as their teacher or mentor has told them, then you end up suffering, or that backfires. So take this case of 85 attempts and 14 right. They are really super students. They would be really good at their knowledge part, and they have a strong handle on the elimination. They keep their mistakes to the minimum, and they end up getting really good marks. 132.6 is a really great mark. So that is one best scenario. So if you are those set of people who are kind of really good with elimination, who has done some really good groundwork when it comes to the knowledge part, the knowledge acquisition, who are good with almost all the subjects. Maybe they might be weak in one or two, but they still have a good control over the exam. 85 is one number that you often find. I mean, these people tend to gravitate to that number. They do somewhere around 83 to 88. That is the kind of number they would be tracing. So 85, 14 mistakes, really great. 85, 20 mistakes, still manageable. It's still safe on any kind of exam, be it tough or easy. But 85 questions and 25 mistakes, that becomes a, that becomes a no-brainer. You go out of the game. Okay, so just see that 85 and 25 mistakes, or 85 and 30 mistakes. Okay, so these are again people, like I said, these are people who would have been comfortable or happy or would have cleared the exam with 75 and 12. But hearing the advice of the mentors, just with increasing the number as the sole objective, they would have gone up the number of questions they attempted, and they would have increased the number of mistakes they committed. So they end up with 30 mistakes or 25 mistakes. Just see the number game. So if this person has done only 75 questions, 10 questions less, his mistake would have been 12 to 14. So when he committed another 10 questions, which was totally not under his or her control, they made all those questions as they did all those questions as wrong, and additional 10 to 15 questions wrong answers came. So that is how they end up with 30 or 25 wrong answers. So instead of 118 in the early scenario, here they end up with 103, which is okay, but 90, no boy, you don't clear with that kind of a number. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to emphasize here. So if you are someone who attempts low number of questions, you can still clear this exam, but make sure that you attempt at least 70 to 75. You can't go beyond 70 or below 70. It's really tough below 70, because the number of questions that you will go wrong in any case is going to be 8 or 10. It's very difficult to get an accuracy better than that. I have seen very rare people or exemplary people having that kind of a control over the number of mistakes. But as a norm, what we have seen is that 8 to 10 or 12 are the kind of minimum mistakes you could make. So, but if you talk about the other set of people who have really good control or really good knowledge, really good elimination techniques, they could very comfortably go till 85 in the first or second round, and they could end up with very less mistakes. So that is the strategy, 85 and 14. It will work out really well for them, 132. Okay, so see for yourself which is the kind of person you are. See for yourself what is the kind of number of questions you do on all these mock tests. Okay, based on that, you can arrive. I think it's important that you have to plan at this point to some level, but you should be willing to change this plan once you see the question paper also. So both things have to be there. Early planning, early setting your mind to do so many number of questions is important, but at the same time, seeing the question paper, you should have a mind to change that also. Okay, then you might ask, then why should I set the strategy early? I just need to form a strategy after I see the question paper. No, that's not enough. The reason being, if you're trying to think, or if you're thinking about this thing for the first time in the exam hall, you don't know how all these number games function, right? So you don't have a calculator to just calculate all this and find out for yourself after getting the question paper. You don't have time for that. So you just need to have these zones, broad zones in your mind. Okay. Okay, having said that, moving on. So what if you are doing 88 questions and you are really good at your game and you end up getting 16 right or 18, you end up getting 16 wrong or 18 wrong, you still get 133 mark, 128 mark, it's all good. 88 question, you could go till even 22, 23 mistakes. You do 88 questions and get 23 wrong, you still get 114 marks. Okay, so these are the set of people who often boast about their elimination strategies and techniques. I was one of them. I could say so. Who are these kind of people? They would be they might know somewhere around 50 to 60 questions, but they still have. 50 to 60 questions they would be knowing for sure. They at least know 3 choices, and they could easily eliminate 2 to 3 choices. But they could still take up their game. They have extraordinary ability to eliminate. Sharp logic. They keep on increasing the number of questions they do. They come after rounds and rounds, and still they keep their mistakes to the minimum. Even when they make 15 to 20 mistakes, they know they are still in control. So those are the kind of people we are looking at here, doing 88 questions and getting only 20 to 22 questions wrong. Okay, so they end up getting 114, 120 and all these ranges. Okay, so that is the kind of range for those kind of people. So people who are not that risk takers shouldn't be attempting and playing in this region. You have to be happy with that place I showed earlier. There is nothing to be ashamed of, or there is no judgment on any of the number of questions. The only thing that matters to us is that we clear this game. Okay, we clear the exam. But if you are on a roll and you just seem to be eliminating everything and you take it till 88 and 90, and if you end up getting 30 to 33 mistakes, then again things don't work for you. You end up scoring 88 marks. So similarly, yeah. So okay, we'll just continue with this. I have another thing to emphasize with when the exam goes really tough. I'll do that in another slide. So here, you reach till 90 questions. You have 90 questions and you have a tight control over the errors you're making. You limit it to almost 20, which means you are getting 125, 126. That is the kind of marks you are getting. So again, good game. So there are many people who do this thing, 90 questions and getting 25 wrong. Still you are in the game. See, that is the beauty of increasing the number of attempts on one hand. You do 90 questions and you can still make 25 questions wrong. You still get 113 marks. So basically the logic is, so if you do 3 to 4, if you take guesses, if you make one right answer, you still have the opportunity to get 2 to 3 wrong. That kind of equals out, right? So that is a kind of way in which people take risk, but make sure that this kind of risk taking doesn't work adversely on you, that you don't take a risk beyond, or you don't take risk beyond a disproportionate number. There has to be always a balance between the number of correct answers you do and the number of mistakes you incur. So that balance should always be maintained, no matter the number of questions you are planning to attempt. So you do 90 questions, you get almost 30 wrong, you get 100 marks. It clearly shows that that person doesn't have the ability to take it till 90. He or she doesn't have the knowledge or maybe the elimination skill to take it till 90, but they took it and they end up getting 30 mistakes and they end up scoring 100 marks. So that's not a safe way to play. They could have always reduced the number of attempts and reduced the number of mistakes, right? They could have played at somewhere around 75, maybe kept the mistakes at 12 or 13. So just see, another 20 questions they did, almost another 20 questions went wrong, right? So that is how it played out so bad for them. So that shouldn't be done. People shouldn't be doing that. So again, this 90-30 combination is again those kind of people who just increase the number of questions for the sake of it. Okay. Then we have people who do 90 questions and get almost 33 wrong, totally out of the game. Then the next zone, which would be the 93, 94, 95, 96, that is a zone. So we just take it as 95. They do 95 questions, limit their mistakes to 18, get almost 142 marks. So these are super smart people. Either they would have been, they would ordinarily be veterans. A good majority of them would be veterans, have taken this again and again. Very rarely first timers feature in that kind of a range. Yeah, but even though it's rarely, but still there would be first timers in that range. But mostly it would be veterans. They have a tight control over the exam. They know what are the kind of questions UPSC asks. They would have analyzed the trend really well. So yeah, that's why they perform in that level. So, but it's not necessary that you perform at that level, because prelims is only a qualifier end of the day, right? So don't bother so much about those people. You just have to make sure that you clear this. But the numbers I am interesting is when the numbers go up, the number of mistakes go up in disproportionate to the number of attempts. So take for example 95 questions and 30 wrong. You are still kind of okay, you get 110 marks, but 95 and 33 mistakes, you go down 102. So as a rule, what you can say is below, above 30 mistakes in a UPSC is a clear no-brainer. You don't clear the exam, or very less chances for you to clear the exam. So if you're someone who plans to do 98 to 100, you should make sure that your number of mistakes don't go beyond 30. So now you might have a question, how do I know that I know what my mistakes are? So if you don't know what your mistakes are, you shouldn't be attempting so much. Or if you haven't had a history of at least making good attempts, reasonable guesses, if you have shown yourself as a poor guesser or poor eliminator, then you shouldn't be taking your number of attempts till that. That is the kind of understanding you should be having. You should know yourself really good, or at least you should try to understand yourself through the help of a teacher or mentor. So that's what I'm emphasizing. It's not that you have some weird clairvoyance in the exam, or that, okay, this is wrong, this is right. That's not what I'm looking here. That's not what I'm saying here. But people over the mock exams, you know how you have performed, right? So that's something you have to keep in mind. So if you do 95 and get 33 mistakes, it's bad game for you. You do 98, get 30 mistakes, it's still okay. See, that is a kind of, there are weird combinations possibly. You do 95 questions, you get 33 wrong, you're out of the game. But you do 98 questions and for you 30 is right, you get 116. So you never know how to figure out this perfect pakka magical combination, but you should go with a broad range or zone, I would say. But if you do 98 questions and you end up getting 35 wrong, you are kind of out of the game, you get 102. And if you do 98 and you end up making errors in almost 38 question, you get somewhere around 94 marks. That's a really bad attempt for you. Okay, you shouldn't be doing all those kinds of stuff. So once again, all this chart, these two slides what I have shown is for an average UPSC exam. I'm not taking the case of 2018 or 19 here, or the case of 2016, which was a too easy exam, whereas 2018 and 19 was kind of a tougher exam. So this is the kind of average number. So your responsibility now would be just take the previous mock test you have done, see the kind of range where you follow, see what is a very much possible number you can arrive. Maybe just take 1 or 2 hours to figure out before the exam. Okay, you have another 20 days. I think this is the right time you should make your mind based on all this information I have given and based on your own experience. Okay, you have to arrive at the kind of that winning combination that you can possibly pull in the exam hall. But mind you, again and again, I am emphasizing, based on the exam you face on the day of October 4th, you should be willing to change your game. Okay, so I'll come to that soon. Okay, so come October 4th and you have a very tough exam, okay, maybe even tougher than 2018. So the reason why I call 2018 a really tough exam would come as a surprise to some people at least, but most of the people would agree to that, I guess. And I don't know whether they would be knowing the reasons why 2018 was tough, but I'll just try to break down 2018 a bit, not so much in detail, but a bit. In 2018, and for that matter 2019, if you look at the questions, you could see that it still follows a trend. It still follows the pattern that UPSC has been following. You have questions on critical wildlife habitat. You have questions on your environmental financing initiatives, environmental organization. You have, see, if you have analyzed past 10 to 12 years of UPSC question papers and you have arrived at certain most priority areas, you can see these questions, these areas itself getting asked in 2018. Or for that matter 2019. But the reason why it got extremely tough was that the choices beneath each question was kept very tight in 2018. You didn't have much leeway in 2018, or based on, you couldn't have arrived at an answer based on your elimination technique alone. You needed elimination and knowledge at the same time, right? So a good number of people, a good number of veterans who used to score in 2016, they have scored 140, 150, 138. All these set of people failed in their 2018 prelims just because they kept on doing their game. They, out of the habit maybe, they kept on attempting more number of questions, but since the choices were really tight, they end up getting it wrong. Right? So when an exam like the nature of 2018 comes up with really tight choices, you shouldn't be risking yourself too much. Okay, you shouldn't be taking leap of faith guesses so much, or maybe you shouldn't be just believing in your hunch so much. You can do that, but limited to 8 to 10 questions. You shouldn't be guessing out somewhere around 30 plus questions. Okay, see, let me tell you, in 2016 personally I have the experience of doing more than 40 to 45 questions on a guess level at different sorts. Some was really good guesses, some was leap of faith, but still I ended up getting really good marks because that year question paper, the choices were really slacker. Okay, it was really slack. So if you had some or the other logic, you could have arrived at the right answer, even if you didn't know the topic. So that was the case in 2016. But UPSC changed the game again. 2018, it was a really closely set options, the choices. So if you did so many attempts in 2018 out of mere habit or out of this plan or out of this advice from teachers and mentors that you should increase your attempt no matter what the exam is, then you would have been for a surprise. You would have clearly flunked that exam. You would have failed that exam. And I personally know many of my friends, veterans, who failed that 2018 prelims. So that is because the exam was tough. Okay, so what happens in a tougher year is that if you keep on doing the kind of guesses, if you keep on increasing the number of attempts, just like you do that for an average year, what only happens is that the number of errors keeps on rising, right? Because in a tougher exam, the thing that the logic that you have thought of and you have reached at an answer, but invariably that would again be wrong, because that's why it's called a tougher exam, right? So I'll just show you some projections about a tougher year. So this is again my own self-generated projections. I'm not ascribing any so much scientific veracity to it, but these are good to go. These are certain heuristics, you could say. You can make your decisions based on these kind of projections. So you're doing 70 questions in a tough year, your mistakes are only 12, and you end up getting 108 marks. You clear the exam. Okay, you clear the damn exam because the overall marks are going to be really less. So just see the cutoff for 28 and 2019, you only had 98 marks. So if you do this in 2018 or 2019, you would have cleared. But there were many people who kind of did almost 70 questions, but due to the word of these teachers and mentors, they went from there, they went into totally uncharted territories, things that they couldn't manage, ended up getting 85 questions, 90 questions, and getting more than 30 questions wrong, coming out miserable. Okay, so keep this in mind. Doing 74 questions, 16 of it goes wrong, you still get 105, you still clear. you do 78 questions, you still try to manage your mistakes at 14, you're good. But you do 78 questions and your number of mistakes go about 20, that you kind of make 22 mistakes, you end up getting 97 marks. I would say many would be there, this 2018 and 2019, who would have figured out in some of this range and who didn't clear the exam. Okay, so don't be that person. Okay, that's all I want you to keep in mind. You did 82 questions. So from here onwards, I have tried to increase the number of mistakes. So in a tougher exam, it's very difficult to increase your number of attempts beyond 80. Okay, so just imagine if you are the person, if you have done 2019 or 2018 exam, and if you have failed that, just see which was the number of attempts you kind of did here. So you did 82 questions, 33 goes wrong, you end up getting 76. You do 85 questions, you get almost 36 wrong answers, 88 questions, 33 wrong answers, 90 questions, 33 wrong answers. So all of these are figuring in 92, 88, 78 and all these ranges. So the only reason I am showing this tougher exam scenario is that I have seen many students ruining their chances last 2 years just because they blindly follow the teachers or mentors' advice to increase the number of attempts. Okay, so that is the whole takeaway you should take from the whole thing I have been emphasizing here. See, first of all, you are a particular type. Okay, each one of you is a particular type based on your knowledge, based on the kind of risk you take, based on the kind of elimination skills or strategies you have. And based on the kind of preparation. Out of 100 questions, you would normally have a safe zone number. Okay, say if your safe zone is below 70, then you have a tight game this year. Actually, maybe you have to try to increase your number above 70. So below 70, we can't even talk about winning the exam or clearing the exam. But if it's above 70, you can really plan strategically. So if you have really high accuracy, try to, and if it's a tougher exam, try to take your attempts to 70 or 75. Limit it there. You don't have to unnecessarily take it to 90 just because some teacher out there said you to do so. See whether exam is tougher. If you see the choices being made really close, you don't have much leeway to make choices. You are tested both on your factual knowledge and on your conceptual knowledge. So these are the ways in which a tough question paper is being set. If you're tested both on, see, on one side they would ask Acme's missile range. So some of them would be able to guess, okay, Acme, we are told that it reaches till China. They try to make a guess out of it. But on the other, they asked you an exact number. Then, okay, you have no other choice. You have to know that fact, but you don't know. So if that is the kind of things you are looking at, you shouldn't be attempting those kind of questions. But on the other hand, if you have questions like one year there was a question on national infrastructure financing board or something, NIFB, some fund was there, no? So they said the government has kind of consolidated over 2 lakh crores for that. We know that that's not going to happen. So if you're seeing those kind of data, you should boldly, seriously do all those questions. So get your priorities, get your senses right in the exam hall. So if you see a really tough question, you should be confident that it is tough for most of them. So keep your attempt in a safe zone, which you normally do in your mock test. Don't unnecessarily take it to 95 or 100 or anything. But if you have an average UPSC exam like you had in 2017 or 2015 or 2013, if you had an average exam, you could still increase your attempt. You could take it till 85 or 88. And if you have a really easy exam, you don't have to worry so much. You could go as far as 98. Okay, but but keep in mind all these projections. And maybe what I want you to work is you just sit down, take some of your past mock test marks and see how which is the zone where you are reaching. Accommodate for the toughness and easiness of the exam, because that has to also be considered. No, then you can have a relatively flexible projection about the number of questions you are planning to do in the exam hall. And if any of you find it difficult, to arrive at a number, arrive at a winning combination or winning strategy, feel free to reach out to us. We can help you in doing that. We can maybe analyze the kind of performance you have been doing, the kind of strengths you have. We can analyze that. We can maybe suggest you some options which will help you to gain some clarity on the number of questions you have to attempt. So mind you friends, the number of questions you do is really crucial in UPSC prelims exam. There are many people who have cleared this exam just because they do more number, they give more number of attempts, because they have a fairly good elimination technique and they have the confidence to increase the number of attempts. There are many people who have cleared, but on the other hand, there are also people who have cleared this exam. When the exam was tough, they minimize the number of errors. So this sense of prioritization depending on the exam and the strengths of the person has to happen in the exam hall. I hope all of you will do a good job. If you have any doubts, feel happy and free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help. So all the best to everyone on October 4th. Have a nice day. Thank you.